required, they are founder-led companies, blood, sweat, and tears to grow this thing, right? And it really is their baby, and they've done an amazing job at it because it's so valuable that now somebody else wants to buy it. I mean, that's amazing success.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Today, I am so thrilled to have a fellow marketer / go-to-market strategist on the line today. Katrina, will you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, hi, Todd. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to join you and your audience. So thank you. I'm Katrina Klier. I'm currently the senior.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm currently senior managing partner for Sage Strategy Group, and we create profitable growth at scale. So we're happy to be on the Growth and Scaling podcast, and we do that by creating.
It just seems natural.
And we do that by creating accelerated value through acquisition integrations.
Okay. So dive into that a little bit. Let's unpack that a little bit. What does that actually mean? Because a lot of people are out there thinking, okay, what is she talking about acquisition for? I thought she was talking about go-to-market. What does that mean for the lay founder who doesn't know what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, let me actually make it a little bigger than just acquisition integrations.
Yeah.
We're really about accelerating time to value for inorganic growth. So what is inorganic growth, right? Inorganic growth is an acquisition of some sort. You may have bought a whole company. You may have bought some IP, intellectual property, or technology from someone else, a piece of another company.
Right.
You may be doing a big strategic partnership or a really big kind of alliance agreement, if you will. And those are your main kinds of inorganic growth. And usually those deals are put together by our fantastic friends with finance backgrounds who make all the numbers work.
Right.
The spreadsheets are beautiful. The charts look awesome.
Yes.
And it's amazing. And the deal gets done. And then the go-to-market side of things really has to get sorted out quickly. And there may have been a little bit of work ahead of time, like a little bit, but understandably, they don't usually bring all of that part of a business into the fold of this deal too early, because quite honestly, they're worried about leaks. That old sales joke of, we only share our most confidential information with our best customers, right? So that's, bad old sales joke from my sales days. But
no, I like it.
But it's understandable, right? And so then all of a sudden, this great deal got done. Everybody's excited by and large. Somebody writes a press release, and then everyone's like, now what? You've got salespeople out that have to have a story. If it's your company, you have to have the story to your customers. If you have investors, to your investors.
Totally.
To your family and friends, they're all going to be like, what does this mean, right? And so you have to have all those series of stories and have them done quickly. And that's really what the go-to-market integration is about. It's about getting the stories right. And then it's also about making sure that your MarTech stack comes together and that your data sources are okay, so you don't miss 100%. Communications with your customers, and that you can track and measure the right kinds of things, and that you're not all tripping all over each other in how you're trying to get out there and get the wonderful message of what you hope is this new combined thing, like new combined company, new alliance, whatever the new thing is, so that people are excited about it.
And I mean, this is a huge problem. It's a huge problem, especially when it's a strategic alliance or it's a partnership where they're adding a new product to an existing, company or existing product stack. It's like, okay, how does this fit in? How do we tell the story and have it make sense why we acquired this thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what I always tell people, because people forget, when you're trying to do one of these deals, you're super internally focused, and understandably so.
Totally.
You got a lot. It is because it's an internal thing, right? You're trying to figure it all out. You're trying to do the market analysis, do the financial analysis. If you're a product company, you're figuring that out. If you've got suppliers and distributors, you're trying to figure that out. So you're very internally focused. And the thing that everybody forgets, because they just get busy, quite honestly, they just get busy, is that
there's a lot going on.
Absolutely, right? And these things are never a straight line from idea to close. It's a long,
Right.
winding road. And what they forget
Right.
is, as soon as this announcement gets made, every single one of your customers and the customers of whoever you are acquiring, or a
The other party.
partnership or alliance
Right.
with the other party, exactly, they all sit there and go, so what is this going to mean for me? And
Exactly.
right? And if I think I understand what it means for me, hopefully I'm good with that. But the next question they have, which they're never going to ask you, but they're going to have, is, are they going to be too distracted to give me the service and the quality of experience that I want and expect? And they're never going to ask you that, right? They're never going to say, are you going to be too distracted to help me? But they all think it, right? And they're human, right?
They're all wondering.
They will. And so rather than having them sit there and wonder in their own head, put it out there on the table, how you're going to work with them, what they can expect, how this is going to create more value over time for them. Reassure them that you're excited to continue to work with them, that you're going to try and minimize any disruption to them. Invite them to let you know if something ends up being disruptive so you can get ahead of it faster. And that's the part that everybody misses. A lot of your really good sales reps will be like, give me something to say because I need to get on the phone. Right? And that's
right. They know that that's going to happen. So they're kind of freaking out in the background.
Right. But, when this stuff happens, though, because you can't get to everybody all at the same time, and you can tee up a lot of things. You get to them pretty quickly. But this is where your go-to-market organization, marketing and sales in particular, have to really, really work lockstep together. So
100%.
What are those Q&As that you can have anybody that might be talking to a customer have, and not that they're like, they see it 5 minutes before they need to get on the phone. Like they've had a chance to look at it, kind of digest it a bit, ask some questions. They're like, I don't know if I know what this second paragraph means, right? Or something. And really be able to get out in front of it. And most importantly, invite your customers to tell you what this deal looks like in their world. And because if you don't invite them, they may not tell you.
No, I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. And I've been victim to this several times with vendors who create some strategic alliance, and I'm like, okay, what is this going to do? Is it going to raise my price right away, or is there something bundled in there for me that's going to help me, or is this just going to be a distraction, right? So who is your client? Like, are you working with the acquisition company? Are you working with the legal teams putting the deals together? Are you working with the finance guys? Like, who are the people that bring you in on these deals, and how do you present yourself as a solution for them?
Yeah, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, I have literally done hundreds of acquisition integrations in my career. And
love it.
I will never jinx myself by saying I've seen it all, because that's surefire way to get a zinger. But I will say that I've certainly seen a lot, and can see the interdependencies between things really quickly. And so I can save people, as I say, a few scraped knees and bruised elbows as you're trying to climb your way through this. And generally speaking, our clients are, smaller to up through mid-market size companies that are doing an acquisition. So they're the buyer, if you will. And because, most of them don't do this very often. And so, and they're not really at a size to go hire some of the really big consulting houses.
Yeah.
And oftentimes if they do, that consulting house is focused on the operational integration of things, your IT people and your HR organizations and finance, and not the go-to-market piece. Very few of them are experts in that. And so helping them plan this out and make it come together. Another client type is investment firms. So private equity firms or venture capital firms that might need some help on the due diligence side before a deal is done. Or when they put a couple of portfolio companies together, they might be like, we need to drop you in and make that part work.
Do some analysis and make sure these actually align, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. It all looks good on paper. Cool. And then yep.
No, it's definitely one of those things that if you're not dealing with this on a regular basis, it's not something you generally are going to be thinking about when you're looking at a strategic partnership or you're looking at some new joint venture or an acquisition. You're generally not like in the mode of thinking, okay, all I'm thinking about are my clients. I'm not thinking about these clients to the other party, and I'm not thinking about the new clients we can now reach now that we've joined forces. How do you start with that? Like, what do you typically see as the things that have worked really well in that thought process? And then we'll talk about some challenges to that too. But what are some things that you've seen where it just like the stars were aligned and you were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the easiest thing ever?
Well, they're all different, quite honestly. Like it's right. Like a different puzzle every time. And I think, I used to love doing jigsaw puzzles with my great grandmother as a kid. So I'll blame it on her for why I love this kind of work. But honestly, the ones that go more smoothly are the ones that have a very clear strategy for why they did the acquisition. Gotcha. And that it's well communicated and understood from the different angles that people need to digest it. So as an example, a lot of times you can do these acquisitions, you're basically buying market share. So you're buying something kind of in your space. So you had 10% of the market, they had 5% of the market, and assuming you don't lose many customers, now you should have about 15% of the market, right?
Totally.
That's one reason.
Totally.
Another reason is they're plugging a hole in their product or service offering. So, we didn't do this piece before. That company was really great at that piece. We plug it in. And that's not necessarily buying market share, but it's expanding how fast you can get more market share. So maybe we're growing at, so maybe it's like, we were growing at, 10, 15% a year, and this is going to let us grow for the next few years at 20, 25% a year or whatever it is.
Right.
And then sometimes you do an acquisition because you're trying to buy some intellectual property for different things. And that's more true in tech companies, I would say.
Sure.
Sometimes service companies too, professional service companies have methodologies and proprietary frameworks. So you're buying some intellectual property, but if you don't know how you're really going to monetize it, maybe you bought it because you don't want someone else to have it.
Sure.
That happens.
Sure.
And, you bought it as an insurance policy that no one else is going to get it. And then sometimes you bought it because you want to fit it into your business roadmap down the line. But those are just kind of three different, more common scenarios for why these deals get done that you really need to be able to explain, particularly to whoever's in your go-to-market function, like, why did you do this deal?
Sure.
And in enough detail that they can understand it. Because then what they can do is say, okay, let's just say we're buying market share, if you will. Like we're going to buy a near-in competitor in our space, and because they operate in a little bit different region than we tend to, and this is great because now we can go have a footing there. But it's unlikely that your offerings are exactly the same. Right. And even if they are exactly the same, how you do it isn't going to be the same.
It's never the same.
It's never the same. And so unpacking that and like, how is this going to get better? How is this going to work? What is the right away reassurance you need to give all of the customers involved? And then what is that paint that picture of happiness and goodness and value, as I always say for them, for once the deal is done. But you have to really get into that early. And when companies have a clearer view of the strategy for why they did a deal, then that all gets a lot easier. If they
Katrina,
either have a strategy. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Hey there, friends. Todd Westra here. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. But I also want to take just a few seconds to let you know about a project that we've been putting together for the last several months. And we're finally launching it, called the Captain's Council. You see, as a CEO or operator of a business, it can feel like you get stuck in your own head a lot of the time. You get challenges that you don't know how to resolve. You get people causing problems in your leadership team that you don't know how to resolve. And it's so hard to overcome those things by yourself. You don't have to anymore. Join the Captain's Council. Captain's Council is a group of other CEOs and operators and owners of businesses, where we come together once a month for several hours to discuss the biggest challenges you're facing. You express to the council of 8 to 10 people about what's going on. Where do you feel stuck? And these other people are in the same boat as you. They're running and operating their own businesses. They're your peers. They help you kind of dissect what's happening and help you see things that you may not have seen all by yourself. If you don't have a good, strong network of people around you, come join the Captain's Council. This is going to be something that will change the way you run your business and open your eyes to opportunities that you have never seen without the help of your peer group. Come check it out, captainscouncil.com. Oh no, sorry for the lag there. But the thing that I see the most often is that, there generally is something from the outset that they want to accomplish, right? I mean, the acquisition company is always kind of keeping their eyes open, but the company that's being acquired isn't always watching for these things to pop up. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times they're just kind of happy in their own little bubble. They're making money. And then along comes this company who's saying, hey, I kind of like what you're doing. You want to be part of a bigger thing. A lot of our listeners are kind of in that stage of the game where they've been growing and scaling what they launched, but they aren't as familiar with the benefits of being acquired or the growth that they could see as being part of a bigger picture. How do you kind of translate that in with these companies that are being acquired into a bigger organization? And what are some things that you see that maybe they should be thinking about now to our listeners as they grow and scale what they've launched?
Yeah, it's a good question. And again, lots of different options there. I'll say that I'll call them founders, because a lot of times the founders of the company that gets acquired, they are founder-led companies the vast majority of the time. And, they've blood, sweat, and tears to grow this thing,
of
right?
Course,
and it really is their baby, and they've done an amazing job at it because it's so valuable that now somebody else wants to buy it. I mean, that's amazing success. And, I really encourage people to think about how they're going to let go, because they're going to have to let go in some way, shape, or form. And, what would make you most comfortable in that letting go? Like, what's really important to you? Do you want to sell and then after the transition walk away? Do you want to sell and then be part of the leadership team of the new integrated company? Do you want to sell and remain an advisor but not be in the day-to-day? And just really soul search a bit and think about it. And there's no right or wrong answer, quite honestly. And I think it's different for everybody, and that's okay. But know yourself and know what's going to be important to you. Go talk to other people that have done this, and because it's different for everyone. They might be like, you know what, I really thought I wanted to sell my company and then still be super actively involved in the new co, right? And then I got there and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I would really rather be an advisor, because they want to see it still be successful, right? They want it to continue to grow. But sometimes they get there and they're like, I don't like this new day to day. This feels really uncomfortable to me. And I'd rather be an advisor and help from a little bit of arm's length. And then there's other people that think they want to be an advisor and really miss the roll up your sleeves and get in it every day. They just miss it. And sometimes they can jump back in, and sometimes they got to ride it out, and then they usually go start another company, right?
I can see both sides of that for sure. Both sides of that seem very, very relevant to a lot of people listening, and to myself included. Now, tell me this though, Katrina, as you see these deals start to happen, obviously they don't all go perfectly, and you've implied that they all go very differently. What are some of the things that you need to watch out for, both from the acquiring side and from the person being acquired? What are some deal breakers that you've seen happen that you're like, oh man, I could have seen that coming a mile away?
A lot of it starts with the whole due diligence process, right? And and that can be grueling. It's a lot of work. And some people are more diplomatic than others going through that process. And if you're getting acquired, like if your company's getting bought, it can feel like, you're trapped in the Spanish Inquisition sometimes. You're just like, honestly, what else do you need to know, right? And you like, I've given you all this data. I've talked to everybody. You've talked to everybody. Like, are we going to do this or are we not going to do this? At some point, you have to make the call and place the bet and move on. And so I think, think that due diligence part is something to really keep an eye on and be inquisitive upfront. Like, ask a lot of questions about how they want that due diligence process to work. Ask for what kinds of things that come up, because there's always stuff, not malintentioned stuff most of the time, but there's just stuff that comes up. And what are the triggers for the buyer? Like, what are their triggers for what are things that they would consider for, let's just call it remediation, and what are deal breakers for them?
Sure.
So some companies that are buying a company, they'll be like, okay, if you've got, a mix of different contractors that you work with in different places, and we're okay remediating and dealing with those contracts. We'll take them on, we'll assume them, and we'll sort it out. Not a deal breaker. Extra work, but not a deal breaker.
Right.
If it's though that you've got legal issues related to employees' compensation or regulation in different places, then they might be like, okay, depending on what that really looks like, that might be a deal breaker. Now, if it's your company and you've got this regulation issue, but it's not an uncommon thing necessarily to have bumped into in the industry that you're in, you might know the path through that and be like, well, just to keep compliance up, these different companies, we all get audited every couple of years because that's just how this industry works. It happens, right? The inspectors come, the auditors, and it was our turn. And they found a couple small things and we'll fix them and life goes on. But the buyer may not know that.
Right.
So there you have to be open and educate on both sides. But that due diligence piece, you got to be able to find the energy to get through it, because it's not a small process.
Right.
And then know where the buyer's go, no go points are, and know where your go, no go points are, because they might
100%.
They might come back and
you got to know that.
I mean, if they come back and say, we want to buy your company because you're in this other region and we're not there. We're a Northeast company. You're awesome in the Midwest, and we've always wanted to be in the Midwest, and we've never been able to get there. So that's why we're buying your company.
Yeah.
And we want to keep most of your people, and we might renegotiate some of your partnerships. Then you're like, okay, that might, if it's your company, you might be like, that's good. But if they flip around and then say, yeah, I know we said we wanted to keep most of your people, especially your customer facing people, but we've changed our mind. And we're going to lay off your whole sales force in the first quarter. And we're going to back out of all your partnership and distribution agreements and renegotiate all of them. Then you may or may not be okay with that.
That doesn't sound awesome.
Yeah, well, you may or may not be.
Again, it doesn't sound
no right or wrong answers. If the price tag is big enough, you might be okay with it. But if it's not, then you might not be. And even if the price tag is big enough, a lot of founders have worked with their teams for years, and they're like family to them.
Right.
And they really don't want somebody, not treating their family well, so to speak, for their employees going forward.
So Katrina, I mean, so from your perspective, and I love, it's a very fitting name now. I see Sage Strategy Group. This is something that comes from experience. It's not something you learn in a school. It's not something you learn from an online course. This is literally just the experience of dealing with these negotiations is something that most people don't deal with. And especially from the aspect that you're coming into it from, where it's like, okay, the new deal's happening. Now what? How and when and who and when should be thinking about these things? And when do you typically engage with the parties in one of these deals?
So the time to think about it is as early as you possibly can get into the table to have a conversation. And
Right.
Oftentimes it's helpful if you're the buyer or if you're being acquired, it's okay to raise your hand and say, I think we should do this too. To drop in someone like me,
Right.
and someone from Sage Strategy Group,
Right.
The name Sage is about applied wisdom. That's why we picked the name. And so
I love
to
it.
drop
Yeah.
one of us in, because you can put us under NDA, you can give us access to different things early,
Yeah.
and help frame some of this out before the deal is actually done. And so that's all about once the digital ink is dry, as I always say on these deals, the clock doesn't just start ticking.
Yep.
The clock ticks fast. It really, really goes fast.
Yes.
And so everything that you can do before the deal closes to set yourself up for success, the better. And so sometimes having a third party who's done a lot of these, like we have, come in and guide the go-to-market piece. We don't do the IT stack integration, and we don't do the how do you negotiate your finance teams. There's other people that do that really well. We're all about how do you get value fastest from the transaction, keep your customers, keep your investors happy, and do it faster. And so earlier is better. I would say before the deal is closed is best. If that's not possible for whatever reason, then as soon as it's closed.
I love it. Now, how, just in closing, I love finding out from people because, you've obviously been in the game for a while. You've done a lot of these deals. Is there someone in your circle who's kind of been that mentor to you that kind of helps shape that, hey, this path exists and this is a lot of fun? And I don't know, like everyone's got somebody who they go to as a mentor in doing the types of deals that they do. Who has that been for you? And would you like to give them a shout out today?
Well, it's a couple of groups of people, actually, more so than necessarily specific people. I would say I was really good at acquisitions, and then I went to work for Accenture, and we did a lot of acquisitions, like a lot of acquisitions.
Right.
And the couple of people I worked most closely with there, Teresa Pogenpaul, Roxanne Taylor, a whole bunch of others, were just phenomenal at thinking 3 questions ahead on stuff. And so, while I thought I was good at it because I'd done dozens of these before I got there, I learned so much more from them, right? Which was amazing. And then,
that's so cool.
Yeah, and then I'm part of a chief marketing officer organization called CMO Huddles, which is really targeted to B2B CMOs from startup, I would say, to mid-market size companies. And it's just such a great group of people because, again, they've been a lot of different places. They've done a lot of different things, and they're so generous with their time and advice. And just I can call one of them and be like, okay, I know you just did one of these deals not that long ago. What are the 3 things you wish somebody told you before you got knee deep into it? And they're like, oh, let me tell you, this really would have been helpful to know ahead of time. And that's another group. And then the third group is, it's kind of an informal group, but it's become a bit of a mastermind group over the years of female executives that I've gotten to know well. There's about 6 of us.
I love
it. We just started getting together for dinner like every other month and helping each other out with whatever was going on at work, career planning, deals we were doing, you name it. And we've gotten to be tremendous friends, but we're actually really kind of this little mastermind group of women that get together.
I love it
as well. And it's amazing.
I've got a mastermind group. I've got a similar type group, and I love that ability to bounce ideas off each other and just kind of make sure you're on the right track and doing what you think will bring you the best result. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just an enormous help. And just, I'm so thankful for all of them. Quite honestly, they've,
I love it.
Been great.
Katrina, peers are so essential in doing what we do. And for all of you listening, I know that having a peer group or having a group of people, whether formal or informal, it makes all the difference in your decision-making of how you're going to grow and scale your business. Katrina, I love this conversation. We could probably go on for another hour, but I'm not going to do that to the listeners, but I appreciate all the insights you've given us today. I know we're going to post all your contact information in the show notes. Is there anything you want to let people know that maybe some last bit of advice to help them move forward in their growth and scaling journey?
Absolutely. I read a book not too long ago. I'd heard the concept for a while, but it's a great book, and it's called Who Not How, and it's a book
Right.
by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. You've probably heard of them and their work.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
as many times as you may have heard the things that they do, if you like, it's a good book to go back and read again and like bring the things back to the front of the mind. And it's a good sanity check for how you spend your energy
I love it.
and your focus. And that's been great. And if you're thinking about selling your company, or somebody approaches you to buy your company, or you're looking to buy another company,
Right.
and you just need some help, or you just want to talk to somebody to see if maybe you need help or not, we're here. That's what we love to do.
You're on the list. You're on the list. Hey, listen, the name says it all itself. You got to talk to a sage advisor. Like, you got to get that strategy lined out. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. Katrina, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with our audience today. And we look forward to catching up with you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd. It was great to be here.
This is such a fun conversation. I honestly love meeting with people like Katrina. These conversations are so important for people like you. Anyone that is considering growth through acquisition needs to think about the things that she talked about. Anyone that's growing at all should consider, can I do better if I acquired someone else? Or am I a perfect bait for someone to acquire to help grow what they've got going on? Lots of stuff to think about. And if you're thinking about those things, chances are you need to bounce the ideas off of some other founder, some other person who's been through the experiences that you have. Katrina is definitely one of those people, but you can also find answers to these things in a peer network group like the Captain's Council. If you haven't heard already, we've got an amazing group we put together of other founders, other operators, CEOs who are running businesses that are in growth mode. They're in growth stages. They're all talking about, what can I be doing next? What conversations can I have that I can't have with my team in a safe place where I can hear what other people have done in maybe a similar situation that I'm in right now? If that's you, if I'm repeating what you're thinking in your head, you need to go check out thecaptainscouncil.com. Every captain of an industry, every captain of a company needs to talk to other captains to find out what pitfalls they need to watch out for. How do you get yourself out of problems you put yourself in? And all of the above. Just a fun place to get to know and help and interact with other peers dealing with what you're dealing with as a founder. So if you're an operator, founder, or someone who is growing a business right now, go check out the Captain's Council, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. We'll see you then.